Welcome back to the Explanation Pro. Today I'll recap a British action film called Offender. Spoilers incoming. On a brisk London evening, Tommy Nicks walks nonchalantly towards a sea of police cruisers and knocks out one of the officers before getting swarmed by the backup. He smirks triumphantly over his arrest as he kneels, puts his hands behind his back, and kneels down. Sometime later, the judge reviews his offense and sentences him to be locked up in prison for 2 years as one of the Gravesmere young offenders. As he gets escorted to a detention cell, he gets punched in the face by one of the officers, visibly upset over his crime. After receiving a black eye, he is brought to the correctional facility in the morning and registers as prisoner #A1019 before his photo and thumbprint are taken. The police officers perform a cavity search shortly after. In another room, the truant officer asks him some personal questions about himself. With all that done, he is sent deeper into the facility, where other inmates insult him from outside the windows. As he gets locked inside his cell, the alarm goes off, and nearby officers respond quickly, searching the whole building for an escapee. Unfortunately, they soon discover one of the inmates, Bob, injected with a poisonous serum while strapped to a gurney and knocked unconscious. Tommy watches from inside the cell as officers try to resuscitate him. His cellmate, Harry, believes it is too late to save the young man while he declares justice is served. His story starts all the way back during the 2011 London riots, which saw looting, arson, mass deployment of police, and the deaths of 5 people. A group of young men takes advantage of the chaos as they get on motorcycles to rob jewelry stores across the neighborhood. After looting a nearby shop, they are caught by the owner, who steps outside to stop Mason, only to be shot multiple times by their leader, Jake. Despite the unintentional casualty, they get back to their hideout with a bag of jewels. Jake drives the group to a contact, Gabby, who is instructed to hold on to the valuables while they escape. On their way to another safe house, riot police block the road and request their vehicle to slow down. Feeling compromised, they run for it along narrow pathways but eventually get caught. The following day, Tommy is working at a construction site where he and his co-workers discuss the riots as detailed in the newspaper. One of them suggests that the British Army should get involved to control the streets, believing the police started the mayhem after they killed a local man, Mark Duggan, 2 days earlier. Later, he meets his wife, Elise, at the hospital, who has just finished her appointment with the doctor about the sex of the baby she is carrying, revealed to be a boy. He gives her a gold necklace to make up for his late arrival. Upon leaving, he bumps into a tattooed man, looking visibly upset. They get home and make love, as he promises to always be there for her. Back in the YOI detention center, Tommy and Harry are lining up with other inmates for breakfast, with the latter talking about the lousy food unless he is Muslim, which allows him to eat exceptional halal food during Ramadan. While discussing life in the facility, he casually asks about knowing Mason and Jake, the men from the jewelry heist. His questioning is interrupted when inmates, Angel Face and Sicko grow impatient with him and insult him, with Jake looking enthused from across the table. Later, the inmates spend some free time outside the courtyard, where Harry subtly points out Jake and Mason while also learning about other offenders, like S.A. They observe a secret drug transaction, where a guy named Patrick becomes furious over his purchase and tries to pick a fight with Angel Face, much to the guards' amusement. In the shower room, Harry is reminded by Angel Face to see him the next day for a private matter, bringing his canteen. Jake's group of thugs then enjoy a pot session with the guard, Jackie Nash, at night, getting him into a state of euphoria. Flashing back sometime before being detained, Jake meets with Elise, who is working as a probation officer, helping young offenders to turn a new leaf after getting caught. She encourages him to change his ways and enroll in a lucrative course, but he gets bored of the talk and leaves, insisting he is better off in jail. Just then, S.A. arrives late for his appointment with Elise, who berates him. Threatening to call the police on him, he slaps her hard, only for Jake to inform him that he is caught on a surveillance camera, so he leaves abruptly. Elise locks herself in the office, traumatized by what she endured. As Jake and Mason tune into a news report about the riots, she recognizes the white diamond Daytona watch the former is wearing, the exact item stolen in a smash-and-grab murder investigation. She calls Tommy immediately as the pair leave to discuss what to do to keep her from spilling the beans about their crime. Walking alone on a deserted street at night, she tries calling Tommy again while getting to her car. Unfortunately for her, a masked assailant breaks the window and beats her until she is knocked out. In the detention center, Tommy walks casually to the recreation room, where he observes S.A. playing a game of pool with some fellow inmates. He feigns interest in buying some crack cocaine, but he is told to return to him by morning, as he has no more supply left. He proceeds downstairs and follows Sicko, as he recently acquires a packet of drugs and sees S.A. beat him up after being thrown a cigarette on his feet. Later, Tommy tries to lift weights at the gymnasium, with Angel Face as his spotter. Patrick arrives shortly after carrying a shiv to attack Angel Face, only to get pummeled by some inmates in clear view of Officer Jackie from the balcony. He rings the alarm to alert the guards and bring the injured Patrick to the infirmary. Tommy is reminded of the time Elise was brought to the hospital after sustaining severe injuries from the attack in her car. She is wearing a neck brace and is relieved to see him while revealing that the men who came to her office were part of the smash and grab job, though she is too distraught to reveal their names. Meanwhile, Jake, Mason, and S.A. are interrogated by Detective Boaz about the murder of the jewelry shop owner, threatening them with a prison sentence. All of the men deny involvement, despite evidence of them inside a stolen car on the night of the crime. Back in the hospital, Elise screams in terror as she bleeds from her uterus, indicating that she has lost the baby. Tommy breaks down from outside the emergency room, feeling mixed emotions. Returning to the present, Tommy is undergoing intense training as he prepares to exact his revenge on the thugs who assaulted his fiancée and caused the death of his unborn son. Later, he goes to a room where Mason is converted to Islam by the Muslim Brotherhood of inmates. He talks to Fahal, who teaches him about repentance, then turns his attention to Mason, taunting him until his Muslim brothers pull him aside to cool down. Afterward, while no one is looking, he tears a small book in half, wraps it around his hand covered with a sock, and proceeds to S.A.'s room to beat him up. S.A. swears that he had only punched Elsie that night and never tried to assault her in her car, as that was all Jake's doing. After hearing this, he grabs a chair and smashes it onto him multiple times. The bloodied inmate is taken to the infirmary right after the incident. Another flashback plays out where Tommy tries to help Elsie cope with her trauma while still pained over the miscarriage in his home. She reveals that the assault permanently affected her reproductive system, which means she can no longer bear children. He meets with a friend, Kelvin, who discloses the whereabouts of Jake and his thugs, sent to Her Majesty's Young Offender Institution in Gravesmere. Soon after, Elsie gives her the keys to their home and leaves him alone, having given up on their married life. Infuriated, he loses control and starts ruining the recently purchased baby crib intended for his son. This is the moment that drives him to plan his revenge. Harry is finally fed up with Tommy's suspicious behavior back in the facility, demanding his true intentions on why he is so keen to punish Jake and his crew. He reiterates that it is also for justice as Jake calls him over to their room and offers a cigarette and a cup of coffee. He tries to befriend Tommy after knowing he is involved in the assault against S.A., saying he did him a favor. He blows on him with a joint and provokes him to attack him as he did to the federal officers. Just as he is about to strike, Angel Face stops him, and Jake calms him down, saying they are on good terms for now. He then goes back to the rec room and sits in a corner across Patrick while another offender, Mike Righteous, practices some rap songs. Remembering the shiv he held to attack Angel Face, and he asks him for help to acquire some weapons to kill Jake and the thugs in exchange for writing his girlfriend a letter. Later in his cell, he prepares the metal shiv he got from Patrick, burning the tip to make it sharper and tying it on a string. At the quadrangle, the inmates go for a run, as Tommy is approached by Officer Jackie, welcoming him to the team of drug dealers. A bit later, a crazy inmate, Genghis, talks to Tommy and expresses some unusual theories about his persona, believing him to be one of the anarchists in the riots. As he proceeds to annoy him further, he launches at him, only to be stopped by Fahal, who casually invites him for prayer. Mason reasons with him, saying he should not get involved with Jake, not knowing his true intentions. He advises him to make a life change, as he reveals he has a baby daughter on the outside. Meanwhile, Officer Jackie takes a package off the mail bin containing a pair of running shoes. His fellow officer, Alan, detests and considers it as stealing the property of one of the inmates. He uses his senior authority to keep it a secret and insists he deserves some good things while working miserably inside the facility. Later in the shower room, Angel Face demands Harry cough up the cash he owes for the drugs. He cries in the corner as he is punched in the chest repeatedly. Just then, Tommy points a shiv at Angel Face, picking a fight with him. During the altercation, he drops the shiv and is immediately picked up by Angel Face, but since the floor is dripping wet, he slips and hits his head hard, causing him to die instantly. The two men return to their cell, as Harry refuses to be implicated in Tommy's schemes inside the facility. He promises to kill Jake and the other thugs, insisting that he attacked his wife, Elsie, that night. So, as Jake leaves his cell, he comes in and chokeholds Sicko to the point where he is knocked out. After hiding him in the bathroom, he goes straight for Jake, announcing he will beat him up, accusing him of the assault on Elsie and the loss of his child. He refutes this by saying it was Mason who orchestrated the whole thing. He and his friend Lucky continue berating Tommy and rough him up until Officer Jackie shows up to break up the fight. He instructs his officers to place Tommy in an isolation cell naked. Afterward, Jake informs Mason about Tommy's true identity and his plans for revenge with all of them. He threatens to harm his daughter if he does not finish the job and eliminate Elsie. Sometime in the evening, Officer Jackie visits the isolation cell and provokes him with a riot shield while he is in a state of hysteria from his injuries. A friendly officer, Cassie, arrives to treat his wounds, pitying him over his current state. She reports Officer Jackie to their colleague and prevents him from doing more torture on the poor man. She brings Tommy out and escorts him back to his cell, where Harry helps him get some sleep. Meanwhile, Mason speaks with Tommy to clear his name over Elsie's assault, saying that Jake has been manipulating him. He makes amends as he needs to protect his daughter. In a flashback, it is revealed that the masked attacker of Elsie was Jake all along. In the visitors section of the facility, he watches as Jake approaches Mason's baby daughter and her mother, implying he has his eyes on them if Mason fails to do what he wants. He asks for help from Harry one more time to start a riot inside the mess hall. While the chaotic scene unfolds as the inmates beat Officer Jackie, Tommy makes his move, killing Sicko as he goes for Jake, who is already waiting for him, holding a wooden stick. Though initially overpowered by him, he takes the shiv out of his pocket and stabs it in his stomach, while Tommy gets stabbed in the eye. The detention officers arrive and take Tommy to the hospital. Sometime after, Mason is released from the facility, vindicated from his offense. As for Tommy, he gains the respect of every inmate as he walks the halls with only one eye left. He smiles, feeling victorious over his revenge on Jake, presumed dead. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and also subscribe my channel for more videos like this. See you in the next video.